Okay. Scott's still alive.
Barely.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
How's it going?
good.
Good.
Excellent.
Hey, hello.
Hey,
Anybody else
here.
Anybody else get an echo?
Yes, there is quite a bad echo. If you don't want to chat right now, just go ahead and mute yourselves. That'd be great. That way we can try to reduce the echo.
Sound.
Been a busy day, Joe. Just sorted out a ticket because Sean's popping over here on Monday.
Excellent. Whoever muted yourself. Oh, I still hear an echo.
Quite a few of them.
Let's try that. Oh, no, still going on. Interesting.
Well, while you're talking, my microphone's going up as well.
Okay. Just curious, raise hands. Who's used the current beta so far? Or not the one the beta in general, not the version I just shipped yesterday or 2 days ago or whenever it was. So. Okay, Matthias. Up, Bill? Is that a hand raised? No? Oh, okay.
David,
I played with it a bit.
Yeah, because from you, I think.
Oh yeah, Gary's used it. I didn't even see you here. Gary, how's it going?
Yeah, he's been playing.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Excellent.
We shall be playing in the next couple of weeks, a lot more with it.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've been using it, Joe.
Oh, of course. Between you and Ben, you guys are really exercising it.
Dave, mute yourself for a second. I think it might be you.
Hello. Oh yeah, yep. Dave, you were causing the echo, Dave. Unmute yourself when you want to chat, okay?
Yeah, no, because when you were talking, it's coming through the microphone here.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
What up?
What's happening?
Just chilling.
Sweet. We'll wait a few minutes before we get started to let enough people come in.
Just quickly, Josh, that stack's brilliant. We've got a lot of that working, I tell you.
Yeah, you liking the stack?
Yeah.
That's good. I've secretly launched it. Nobody knows I've launched the stack yet.
I was just about to say, I didn't know you launched it yet. Cool.
I know it's been live since last weekend, but I haven't had time to get to the video yet. And because of some people's feedback, it's actually going to help me make a better video. So
hey, you pulled a Joe Workman. Good job.
Yeah, I know. Somebody else just purchased it today, and I'm like, oh, someone's sleuthing my website. They know that it's there. But I haven't told anyone. But for those on the call, I released my Feeds Table Pro Stack. It's an HTML. It's an HTML table creator that if you use it with feeds, you can then feed all the data for the table with feeds. It has search, and sorting. Instance search. So as you type it, search as you type. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. I like it. I built it because I was building it for another client site that I was working on. And then in the end, I thought, it'd just be better to turn this into a stack. And then it's spiraled out of control from there.
Massimo, you don't need a webcam to hang out. Hopefully you're here. I saw you in the chat. Oh yeah, you're here. Cool.
I'll put a link in the chat if Joe doesn't mind.
Go for it. Okay. Let's get cooking. So this is a new service that I'm still playing around with and getting the, let's see if I go like this, do you guys see just me? Just curious.
No, Joe, if you go up to the top right and when you click on that gallery mode, there's a button that says like force. There's a toggle. And then you will force people into your view mode. So if you turn yours to audience and then you flip that toggle, it will push everybody into that same view.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So now we're
Everybody
stuck on
see me
you.
now, but you can kind of see everyone else up on top just for
Yep.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Interesting. Okay. Sweet. So, Total CMS 3. Okay. It is a completely different beast than Total CMS 1. Right. It is conceptually the same. Okay. But the implementation, not one line of code was brought from Total CMS 1. Okay. It is completely rewritten, completely rewritten multiple times now. Hence why it's Total CMS 3 and not Total CMS 2. Okay. Technically, actually, it should be Total CMS 4. Okay. I actually have rewritten Total CMS 1. This is the third iteration. Okay. So yeah, 5 years I've been working on it, something around there, which is pretty nuts. Okay. I'm really, really happy with how it's turned out, or how it's turning out. Okay. And I think I nailed it. I think it's really good. And as a use case, we were just chatting about feeds, and hopefully most of you probably know feeds. Really the entire purpose of feeds, or one of my dirty ultimatums, or behind the scenes things I wanted to do with feeds, was to test some things, right? So as you know, feeds uses something called Twig. It is a templating engine. Okay. It's has all those little macros that let you insert data, and I wanted to use that in Total CMS, and I'm like, I didn't want to go all in on it until I knew that it would fit well with the community. Hence, I implemented feeds. Okay. And as you know, feeds uses Twig. And I think it was a grand slam. Okay. I know feeds is a very powerful stack. I know many of you here love it. Okay. If you love feeds, you are going to want to go to bed with Total CMS. Okay. It is really awesome. Okay. I've taken what I did with feeds and then gone a lot farther. Okay. It's much more powerful. And it pretty much is like a marrying of Total CMS 1 with feeds. Okay. Sort of, in a way. Okay. Along with a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, this is a beta, and earlier on in beta 1, if you were at I did a live stream with the beta 1 stuff. I was open and saying, hey, this is a beta. Please use this as much as you can. Obviously, some people are already actively building websites with it, which is pretty awesome. But it is a beta, and you do that at your own risk, right? Obviously, because I say that because I still am willing to break things between one beta release to the next in order to make a better shipped product. Okay. At this stage, I'm less likely to ship breaking changes. Actually, I have one that's a slightly breaking change. It's going to ship in beta 7. I'll show that off today. Okay. But yeah, it's just something that I felt had to be done for the shipped product. Okay. And for existing users, again, I'll review what that is. It's not a huge deal, but it is a thing. Okay. So I'm using this also as a way for me to learn and to be better at teaching Total CMS. So I'm probably going to fumble a little bit here, experimenting with ideas on the order in which I teach things and whatnot. So please feel free as I'm chatting to chime in and ask for clarifying questions. Okay. It's okay. I'll try to watch the chat as well. So for those that can't speak, you can type in your questions and I will try to, field those as I go. Okay. Before we get too far onto a different subject. Okay. So before I kind of dive into Total CMS 3. Are there any questions to start off with? No, not a single one. Okay. Let's go ahead and dive in. So let's go ahead and let's see, share. Where's the share thing? There it is. Share. I'll share my whole screen. Oh, you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes? Excellent. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let me go ahead and 1 second. Where is it? Cursor Pro. All right. All right. Yeah, I know people like this little doohickey that I use sometimes. So do you guys see the little circle around my mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Cool. We are going to start off with. Actually, you know what? Before I start off with sharing my screen, I want to talk a little bit about vocabulary. Okay. Some words and how Total CMS 3 is structured. Okay. Before I start diving in. So hopefully most of you here are most likely familiar with Total CMS blog, okay, and how it has been abused over the past 5 or 6, 7 years to do all kinds of other things besides a blog. But nowadays it's probably used for non-blogging purposes than it is a blog, okay? It is very well abused, okay? And that's okay. Because it's what we had and we did amazing things with it. Okay. But not everything can be a blog, right? So we have a new vocabulary in Total CMS 3. Okay. Because in Total CMS 3, well, let me say in Total CMS 1, blog is very powerful. And Total CMS 3 uses that blog style architecture and goes all in with that. Okay. So in Total CMS 3, we have everything is a collection. Okay. Think of a collection as a blog. Okay. But it is a collection of objects. Okay. In Total CMS 1 terms, that is a blog that has blog posts. But a collection can be a collection of objects of whatever you want it to be. It could be a product. It could be a campsite. It could be an event. It could be whatever you want. Okay. A person, a location. Okay. Now, what defines what that object is something called a schema. And a schema, you probably are familiar with this term. It's a database term. And that pretty much you define what fields are available. In Total CMS 3, these fields are called properties. Okay. So we have schemas that define what an object is. We can have a collection of objects, and then those objects have properties. A property could be an image, a gallery, pretty much all the fields that we had available in Total CMS 1, gallery, image, depot, file, text, style text, number, all that stuff, okay? Those are all fields. So we can create a property that has as many of those fields as we want, okay? As many or as little, right? We're not limited to what I've defined in a blog, okay? And that's super powerful because you now you're not limited by the fields that blog has. But even better than that, okay, and I think Bill Burden, who's here, can be a testament to that being able to name these properties whatever you want is a godsend. Okay, because I know he's built some custom stuff already and played around with the beta, and he's liking that, right? And it's amazing because you no longer need to in the current days, if you wanted to use blog as something else, you need to know I'm using label for the price and I'm using author for the location or something like that, right? where you had to like mentally map, and a lot of people use spreadsheets to map all this data out, and it was confusing and annoying, right? So not having to do that anymore is going to be really, really great.
There's your marketing ploy, Joe. Really, you know, Total CMS for people with aging memories.
Excellent. Okay. Now I guess I should talk about, there are going to be 3 editions of Total CMS. Total CMS 3. There's going to be light, standard, and professional. Okay. And light is essentially going to be easy CMS. Okay. Easy CMS will be going away. Okay. Once Total CMS 3 is launched, the current version of Total CMS and easy CMS will be gone. Okay. Total CMS 3 will be charged per domain, even the light version. Okay. I haven't fully released all the pricing yet. You guys have seen some of the pricing, right? I think standard is going to be $159, pro is $359. I haven't quite settled on what the light version will be. Okay. Essentially, the light version will be similar to easy CMS. I am adding some stuff though. We're gonna have gallery, and we're gonna have feeds. Okay. Feeds being the Total CMS feed. Okay, not feeds the stack. Okay. So it'll be like an extremely light blog. Okay. Will be in the light version. Then we're gonna have standard, which is essentially the current version of Total CMS. So you have blog and everything else. And then there's going to be a bunch of new features that you'll get access to. There's a really great image engine that actually light will get access to as well. Now professional, the professional version will have support custom collections. So if you want to create your custom collection and add as many fields as you want, name the properties, whatever you want, as well as there's going to be some other additional features and stuff that Pro will unlock. I haven't ironed out all of those details yet. Okay. I do have to say that the current beta, everybody gets Pro during the beta. Okay. Eventually, when the product is shipped, whatever version you've purchased, okay, some of you have purchased Pro, some of you purchased the standard version. Once we ship, we will have the ability to, you'll get locked down to whatever your license is done or available with. Okay. Any questions on this overview or the 3 different versions that I can answer before we dive into the actual CMS? No? Man, I guess I did a great job.
Yeah, will there be an upgrade?
Yes. So great question. There will be upgrade pricing, so you can upgrade your existing Total CMS instances to Total CMS. Whether that be, there will be no upgrade path from Total CMS to Total CMS Lite. I don't think that makes sense. There will be upgrade paths from Total CMS to Standard or Pro. I don't know what that pricing will be yet. Okay. As well as I will have the ability to, again, I haven't done this yet either, but the ability to migrate your data. Okay. So all of your existing text and images and galleries and blogs can be migrated to Total CMS 3. Okay. Now this does not include if you're using stacks. Okay. So the stacks are very different. I think it will be easier. It will be much easier than, let's say, the Foundation 1 to Foundation 6 migration, where you kind of had to redesign your entire site. You're not going to have to redesign your whole site, but you will have to redo the Total CMS bits of it. Okay. So yeah, there will be some work. If you're using the Total CMS 1 macros, I'm going to try. I haven't tested this out yet, but I don't see why there would be any reason why I can't build some sort of add-on that will interpret the Total CMS 1 macros and into Total CMS 3 macros. Okay. It will probably be something that's off by default that you can then add to the page, and it will just be some sort of like interpolation or translation, that's a better word, a translation between the macros and the current twig syntax in Total CMS 3. Okay. Good question there. Yeah. Oh, another thing I do want to say is Total CMS 3 is actually built, it is built to be a standalone product as well. Obviously right now I'm honing in and making sure that it all works within Stacks, and we're building it with Stacks. However, Total CMS 3, I do plan on shipping it as a standalone product and market it to other web developers that maybe are not Stacks users. Okay. Right now, that market will be pretty much people that know how to code, and they're going to be coders. And this is pretty much someone who likes to design or build a website, but doesn't want to have to build, an entire CMS to manage the data. Total CMS will be that for you. Okay. So yeah, maybe that will go other routes in the future. But as of right now, Total CMS it will be a standalone product. However, I love Stacks. And so, yeah, it's going to work 100% with Stacks as well. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Without further ado, let me, I can't shut up, but let's stop looking at my ugly mug and let's share my screen. Okay. Curious, when I share my screen, do you see the sessions window right now? I'm just curious, is it clever like Zoom where it hides itself?
It says you are now sharing your screen.
Okay.
Chat on the
Yeah.
right.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
hit ignore, it turns into an inception window, and it just layers upon layers of.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that it did do that. Okay, cool. All right, let's open up browser. So another huge game changer for Total CMS, which was just shipped a week ago or around a week ago. Okay. Let's go to. Okay. And that's probably why I know a lot of you are excited about the current version of Total CMS, is because it has an entire made for you admin system. Okay. So this dashboard is basically now can be used as your admin area for Total CMS. You're not required to use this. Actually, before I built all of this admin area, I made sure that we can still build custom admin web pages. And we'll see that in a little bit first. But I thought introducing Total CMS with its new fancy, admin area would be a good place to start. So in here, obviously a lot of this is just kind of like a little to-do list for me. Okay. So this is the homepage. There's not much here, but eventually this will be some sort of dashboard. It'll probably tell you something about the data in your Total CMS instance and maybe links to docs or, stuff like that. Right. So yeah, eventually this will be something that's nicer than just a bullet list. Okay. But that's not really important right now. Let's go into the important stuff. And actually, yeah, let's start with schemas. Okay. Since it's kind of like the lowest level. So a schema, as we talked about before, is it defines what a particular object is. Okay. So here we have a blog schema, and this contains all of the data for a particular blog post, okay, or a blog object. We have all of these fields. As you see, there's little icons that kind of indicate what type of field it is. You also notice that we have built-in schemas and custom schemas. Okay. The built-in schemas are read-only. You cannot modify them. So none of the actual form fields are editable here. So I mean, but you can view and kind of see what data is available and whatnot. Okay. Now here there's also what fields are required. Okay, and what fields are a part of the index. The index is an important thing. This is essentially, again, hopefully most of you are aware of Total CMS blog, okay, the current blog. As you know, not every blog post field is available in the blog list. For example, extra content 2, and content, Okay. Those are not available. So in here, this basically essentially defines all the fields that are going to be available in the index within the quote unquote blog list. Okay. Fields that are not available here can be accessed on the actual individual blog post page. Okay. For example, now actually this kind of good thing I started here. This talks about a change for existing beta users that I've made in this version that I haven't shipped yet. Okay, this will be in beta 7. That comes hopefully tomorrow, but yeah, it might be a little bit more than tomorrow. Okay. If we look at this blog schema, we'll notice that it is a little bit different than what the schema for Total CMS 1 was. It doesn't have extra content. It doesn't have extra content 2. It doesn't have labels. It doesn't have genre. It doesn't have archive. Okay. And the reason for that, okay, is because I added a lot of extra fields so that people can use blog even more. Okay. And now that we're kind of going to get a new beginning, I wanted to remove fields that just, it really didn't feel like they were needed for a blog. Okay. So I trimmed those down. However, with that said, there is a hidden schema called blog legacy that conforms to what Total CMS 1 was. Okay. And in a little bit, if you remind me later, I'll show you how you can use that blog legacy. Essentially, in the migration process, when I migrate your data, you will be able to, it'll automatically migrate CMS1 data into a blog legacy schema. Okay. So I just want to let you guys know that. And please remind me a little bit later on when we maybe get into some of the weeds, how you can actually migrate or use an existing, maybe an existing blog that you've created in the existing betas, and how you can assign that to be a legacy blog schema instead of the normal default, the new default blog schema. Okay. Okay. So that was a little boondoggle there. Okay. As you see here, there's a lot of these built-in schemas that you're already familiar with. There are some new, like there's a color because Total CMS now supports colors. But we have dates, depots, emails, feeds, just like we had in Total CMS 1. Okay. Most of these are pretty simple. They're just an ID and then a field, right? So a gallery schema just has an ID and a gallery. A file has an ID and a file, right? Number has an ID and number, so on and so forth. Okay. Feed obviously has a few more, right? Oh, a couple of new fields that I did add to blog and to feed are created and updated. These are going to be date fields that are kind of automated. So whenever you create a new object, an updated field can automatically be add the date that it was currently or created will be the date that that object was created. And if you ever edit that particular object, the updated date will automatically get updated with that date. Okay, so that's nice. That's in both feed and in blog. Okay, so pretty nice there. Now we have the ability to do custom schemas as well. And as you see in here, I have the ability to edit things, right? So if I wanted to add more required fields, I can go ahead and add in the required fields that we need. Okay. Here's a new, pretty fancy new tab or tag selector. I really like it. I think it's nice. This particular instance, it shows you all of the existing properties, so you can easily just go ahead and click them to add things to either be required or indexed. Okay. In this editor, you can go ahead and you can see I can actually rename a field if I want, just by clicking on here, and I can type something in and I can name it to be whatever I want. Okay. If you click on this, it'll actually open up a light box and it shows you even more data. Okay. So it shows you the type of data it is. You can provide something called a factory, which we'll go into in a little bit. A default value, some form information. So what is going to be the label for this field, the placeholder, The help text, I'll show you some examples of that. Maybe I was just testing this out so that I left all these blank. That was bad of me. And some more advanced settings for this. Okay. And as you see, you have all those detailed settings for every single property, which is nice. Over here, you can duplicate a property. You can also delete properties. Okay. And if you didn't know, they're also drag and drop. Okay. And why is drag and drop important? Essentially, because all of this is dynamic, the forms that are generated, they're based on the order of the fields in the schema. So the order of your fields in the schema, we'll see later on when we go into the forms, they match the order of the fields on the form. Okay. Okay. And if you want to add a new field, just go ahead and click the plus button and it'll add a blank field and you can go ahead and do all that stuff. Okay. Add all that data in there. Any questions so far? Okay. So again, that was schemas. Okay. Again, they're a way of defining the definition of what our objects are going to be. All right, let's dive into the next view. It's collections. So we've already talked about what collections are. There are a collection of objects that conform to a particular schema. So for example, here is my blog. And when I click on blog, I see all of my objects here. Okay. What's nice is that it's all filterable. So if I do, ENG, there we go. I can filter and find things. Okay. And it'll filter based on every field that's displayed in this view. In this view, it displays all of the fields that are available within the index. Okay. So that's another thing that the index affects. And it searches all those fields. So like if I search for, I saw some posts that had dates of 1974. Oh, I thought it was, maybe it was 2024. Oh, okay. 2024, there we go. We can get everything that has 2024 in it. All right. It was 1972 I saw. Here, let's go 1972. There you go. Right. So you can kind of see all that stuff. So you can quickly filter. It happens on the fly. Really nice. Okay. You can also sort. Okay. So you can click on each field and it'll sort by that particular column. Okay. You'll also notice that there's pagination in here. Okay. And the sort happens across pages, right? So like if I sort by date, okay, I'm going to get the latest, most recent date, even if it was on page 10. Okay. So really nice there. As you see, some data that isn't necessarily text like images, I do show a preview of that image as well, which is nice. Okay. Now there's multiple things that we can do in here. Obviously, if I click on one of these, it takes me to the form to edit that particular object. In this case, a blog post. Okay. And I can edit all this stuff, upload images, do whatever I want, click save. Okay. Pretty run of the mill. Not rocket science there. You can use these breadcrumbs as navigation as well. I can just click on this to go back to the main blog. What are some other things that we can do here? I can go ahead and edit my collection. Well, I guess before I do that, let's talk about what a collection is. So I'm going to go ahead and you'll notice down here, I can create a new collection. So let's talk about what a collection is. I'm going to go ahead and click new collection. Okay. And what I can do is I'm just going to give it, let's call this new blog. Let's say I want to create a second blog, or let's call this like news. Let's call it news. Okay. I want to create a blog that's news on my site. And it automatically updates the ID. You can actually manually type in the ID as well, but I wanted to show you that it, similarly to what we have already for a blog, the ID fields can be automatically based on a field such as name. Okay. Now here you'll notice that I have to select a schema that this collection abides by. Abides. I like that word. I have to remember to use that in the future. Okay. And you notice, actually, we talked about blog legacy. I can actually make this particular news blog abide by the blog legacy schema. Okay. Or in this case, I'm going to choose blog. Okay. And then you can give it a name and you can give it a URL. you don't have to give the URL at first. Probably at first we don't know what the URL is going to be. You can leave it blank. We'll review what that is when we actually start looking at the website side of things.
May I interject for 1 second?
Please.
So one thing that's super powerful about applying a schema to a collection is, for instance, say I create a products schema and I want to have a collection specifically for men's clothing, but then I want to create a collection for women's clothing. The beauty of having a singular schema is you can apply that to multiple collections. And I think that's an important thing to note here, that people grasp the power of a schema. It's a set of rules for a collection, but it can be for collections. You can use it across multiple collections. So if you have 4 different collections utilizing one schema, updating a singular schema can update those 4 collections fields, which is super, super powerful. So I just wanted to help make that connection, because
exactly very, very good. Thank you. And that's important because I don't have any UI for this yet, but eventually we're gonna have the ability to move an object from one collection to another, or copy it or clone it or whatever, right? And as long as those collections abide by the same schema, you can just move them across different collections, right? So really cool. Let's say you had a blog and you had, I don't know, an archive or something like that, right? You can archive a blog post and move it to something so it's not gone forever. But we can, because those 2 collections abide by the same schema, the same rules, then we can do that, right? So thank you, Josh. Hey, so I'm gonna go ahead and click save. And you notice when, we got a cool new save animation. And once I save it, you'll notice that I now have a bunch of new fields here. So I've created this collection. We'll notice that I have fields here for every single property, okay? Now, what's cool about this is I can actually edit some attributes about this and make it unique for this particular collection, okay? So let's say, let's go to title, okay? By default, the label in the form field is going to be title. But let's say I didn't want to call this title because it's a news, so I want to call this headline. Okay, let's, it's the title field, but I want to call this headline. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and let's just save that really quick. All right, and just for fun, we're going to go into news, and I'm going to create a new object. What you'll notice here is that instead of title, it says headline right here, right? Pretty cool. Now, obviously, I have hover tooltips for help over, so the title gets, replaced. But yeah, and then I could update the help on here as well. I can see, write a nice headline that does blah 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 blah, right? But what's cool is, again, you can customize this on a per collection basis. So the defaults for all this are defined in the schema, okay? But you can override it on the collection level, which is really nice. Okay, let's go back to blog since this has a bunch of objects. Now that we know what a collection is and what it looks like to create a new one, we can edit this collection. So if I wanted to edit the blog, and in here again, you can go to all these fields and edit some of either the form things or add some additional settings. I'm not going to dive into these right now. We'll have documentation for them later on. I guess here, okay, I'll show you some of them. So for ID. The ID field is by default based on the title field, okay? So in here, these advanced settings allow you to do things like this. So for an ID field, there's a special setting called AutoGen, and we can make the title be based off, or we can make the ID be based off the title. And this is the syntax. And there will be documentation on all of this, and there's other things you can do. Like, let's say I wanted it to be the title dash and then a UUID, okay? Just some unique identifier. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to click that. I'm going to save it, just kind of show you. Okay, and let's go back to blog. We're going to create a new object. Okay, first off, I don't have a title, but it already added a little unique identifier there. But if I do, this is a test. Okay, we'll see now that the ID of this object is based on the title plus some unique identifier, right? So super powerful. Okay. You can also do things such as, just leave.
Which
Edit.
makes this actually kind of cool because if you're doing a blog post and you put in there like the ID of someone who's logged in, then you could have like the author in there, or you could have the author field, pretty much fill that in, which is ridiculous.
Like, you can have it based on any field. So, you can actually just use, let's say the author is a proper valid property here. You can do, now the ID is going to be based off the title dash the author, and then you can even add a UUID there now, right? So then if you wanted to.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Right. So super powerful. You can add multiple fields in here. I think there's, if you do now, it'll add a timestamp. Okay. So pretty cool. It's super useful. All right. So that's an example on how we can have settings for a particular field. And a lot of these settings are going to be specific to like this particular autogen setting is only on an ID field. You can add it to other things, but it's not going to do anything. Okay. So particular fields are going to have particular settings. In the far future, I plan on having, a nice UI here for settings. But for now, to get going, we have this text box that will be, it'll have syntactical requirements, but it should be pretty simple. Okay. Next up is let's go to labels. So like for here in labels, this is a tag based field, right? And in here, I have a property options true. And what that's going to do, let's go here. Okay. If we go into, tags has it. Okay. Tags has that property options field. And what it does is it pulls in from all of the existing objects, all of the possible values that have already been used for tags, and populates the field. Okay, so pretty cool there. So okay, I won't go into all the other things that you can do, but yeah, that's what a lot of these settings are going to be for. Okay. Yeah, I won't go into anymore. I can spend a lot of time on some other various options that are kind of cool. I do want to show here. I'll show you an option. This probably doesn't make sense for title, but I'm just going to put in here show you what this can be used for. Okay. I'm actually going to type in this exact thing that's in here. So we're going to do option 1, comma. No, it's just option 2. Option 3. There's more advanced syntax that we can do here, but this is the simplest one. Okay, I'm going to close that and we're going to save. And I added that to title. Okay, so we're going to go here. And hopefully this works. Okay. Oh, it doesn't work. All right. Well, what it will do. Here, let's look at author because that's what this does. 1 second. Actually, so what that should do, it provides you a list. While this is a text box, okay, and I can type in whatever I want in here. The ability to provide a list of pre-selected options, like here, let's do like Hardy, right? So if I start typing Hardy, it kind of delineates the list, and I go, oh, that was the one I wanted. Okay, so that's what that options thing does. Now, if this field were set to be a select box, it would be an actual select box, and I couldn't type in whatever I wanted. I could just select one from the list. Okay, so that's essentially what that options field is for. Okay, it serves two purposes. If the field is a text box, we'll get this, and this UI is browser specific. It is a feature built into the browser, so this is how it looks like in this browser, but it works differently, it works the same, but displays slightly differently based on the browser the user is in. Okay. Okay. So I won't go into the weeds any further on that. So the last thing that I haven't talked about in this collection is actually something I implemented last night, and it will be a part of beta 7. Okay, is if we go over here and click, there's a few things here. Now, I haven't implemented import, but import will definitely be where we can import, let's say, a CSV file or various other formats that I plan on supporting for import. Okay, so you can import data into this collection. But what I did implement last night was something called the factory. Now, I talked about the factory a little bit when we were looking at schemas. And what is that? Okay, so I think the factory is going to be a super powerful way to generate artificial data within our websites. Okay, this is going to be amazing for just quickly getting up and running and having data. Okay, fun tidbit, all the data that we see here, it was all generated by the factory. Okay, now how does it know what type of data to add? Okay, and to do that, we're going to go back into the schema. Okay, and what we'll notice is if we go into each of these fields, there is a factory field. Okay, and that factory is the setting of what type of data will be added to that field when the factory runs. Okay, and there is if we go, let's go back to the factory page. All right, if we go to the factory docs, okay, there's a link here for the factory docs. There's all kinds of stuff that we can add into our schema: words, sentences, paragraphs, text. There's images. Okay, so we can generate images. We can generate actual, in that blog, I was doing like an image shapes, but you can actually bring in actual images of, let's say, people or stuff like that. I have an example of that. We'll see that in a little bit. You can import tags, names. So a first name, you can even do something like first name male, first name female. Okay, so you can do all kinds of stuff. Various address and phone number information, some company stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of really useful stuff in here. A lot of it is kind of like lorem ipsum type of data. Okay, but it's really cool. And there's actually more than this. This is just a draft of the docs. There's all kinds of more stuff that we can do here. Okay, so let's go back to the factory. So in the factory, I can say how many objects that I want to create, and all I have to do is click on this create objects button. And I've now created 8 new objects in my blog. Okay, really cool. And it was created by the factory settings set inside the schema for that particular collection. Now, eventually, I think it would be nice to be able to define custom factory rules right here. Eventually, I would like to have that. But for right now, I just wanted the ability to quickly create objects for our collections. And if we go back to our blog, if you notice now, there were 31 before, now there's 39. Okay. So yeah, really, really cool. And it created these new unique images, as well as, all of the data for the blog posts. Pretty cool. Okay. So factory, again, is a super useful way. It could be even for simple things like colors. Pretty much most of the colors that you see here were all created by the factory. Okay, just randomly created objects with a color. Okay, pretty cool. Let's go through just kind of navigate through some of these. Here's a custom collection that I created that just had an ID, an email, and a color. Okay, that was something I created that didn't do anything. So we have dates, emails. Here's a feed. If we look in this, just to kind of see, here's another type of image that you can create. It's just an image with a word, some sort of lorem ipsum word in it. Just kind of show you that. I wanted to show you galleries.
Joe, don't let the voting machine people buy these.
Nice. Yeah, the factory, right? Just generate votes on the fly. The gallery, what it does is it will show you the thumbnail of the first image in the gallery, and it'll show you a count of how many images are in the gallery, right? So this particular one, this gallery has 21 images. If I click on it, there we see there's 21 images inside this gallery. Okay. Pretty cool. Any questions so far? Okay. We'll dive on. I guess I'll finish the rest of this admin area. Here's just some docs. All of these docs are very rough. They have, information in there, but they're not up to snuff yet. Okay, so there is a lot of stuff in here. You can peruse through and maybe get some hints and tips, especially like the factory stuff. Okay, but yeah. There's a lot of stuff in here. Some of it works. Oops, that doesn't even work at all. Oh shoot, I broke that. I'll have to make sure I fix that. Darn it. Okay, cool. Good thing I clicked on that. Okay. Settings or utilities. This will be a place. None of these actually work yet, but these are just ideas for utilities. So clearing caches, batching generation of images, a server checker, and then a log analyzer. And then this will be a place for settings. Okay. And again, that doesn't have anything yet either. Okay. All right. So in all intents and purposes, that is a complete overview of the new admin dashboard. Again, a complete game changer for building your site, because you no longer have to spend time to generate an admin area. This can get you up and running super quick.
What I'm really excited about for this is a lot of the times when we're building sites, like we do, like for me in our production, we build sites, we design them, and then we go to build them, and we don't have content to fill in that area. So what's really nice about this is this gives us the ability to, one, get content with factory, build out a whole front end site without even worrying about the back end, and then you could go to launch on a site real quickly by focusing on the front end, and then build the custom back end for your customer as needed. Because with this auto admin, we have all the control we need on that back end instantly. And then for the custom admin, which I still like building custom admins for my customers, giving them control to change what they need to. But with this, it will allow me to have the tools, all the switches on my end automatically, and then I could build something simple and custom for the customer after, and I think this is massive for productivity.
Yep. Couple questions that I saw in the chat. So Scott, you asked, how does this relate to permalink? I assume you're talking about the ID field. Okay. Basically it's the same. Okay. So instead of permalink, I called it ID. Okay. So yeah, the ID is the permalink now, or the permalink is the ID field, I should say. So yeah, same thing. I just felt ID was a more universal term for since I was trying to generalize a lot of this vocabulary. Okay.
Joe, productivity wise, how hard would or easy would it be to, once you've built out your admin area, how hard would it be to clone that and then remove stuff that you don't want the client screwing with?
Oh, you mean like cloning the dashboard?
Yeah.
So all of that is, that isn't all built. It's all like dynamically built on the fly. So there is no cloning it and removing stuff. Now I do plan on, I don't have any, there's zero authentication right now. Okay. I do plan on adding, traditional, username and password authentication. And then on top of that, I will have some sort of permissioning system. So you can give your client, if you wanted to give them access to this, you can give them access, but then turn off certain things, right? I'm a little scared on what can of worms that's going to be, because some people are going to want, how fine grained do I go? So yeah, there will be probably limitations on that. I don't want to, be able to control every UI component, but I do want to give the ability to turn on and off certain functionality. Like maybe they're not allowed to delete things, or they're not allowed to go into the schema at all, right? Stuff like that I think is super easy to do. So yeah, we're gonna start with something like that, so you can have multiple users and at least like 2 levels of permission. A super user that gets everything, and then a restricted access that gets not everything. Okay, or whatever, and that'll be configurable to you as the super admin. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I'm just trying to decide. I mean, this auto generated dashboard thing is great for us,
Yes,
but it'd be a nightmare to give to a client.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand. So yeah, that's why I felt it was important to still allow us to create the custom admin area to give them just the fine-grained controls that we want them to have, right? And I do want to build some tools to make it that easier as well. But yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I mean, can we take these chunks of this thing and put them into something that's more client usable?
So like, for example,
I mean, my clients aren't going to. My clients would say, I have current clients right now who have 10 blogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I give them something that says, okay, add a collection, they're going to be going, what the, I just want to add a blog post.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Yep.
So that's why, Scott, I said, like, it's still going to make sense to build something simple for those customers. And it's not going to take a long time to build out a blog management, dashboard for those customers, right? Because ultimately there's a couple of things you would need to think about too, is that because this is auto-generated, when you go to the text collection for all the text fields that you have on your site, they're going to be in order of ID name. So if you have, a whole bunch of text fields on the homepage, you kind of want to name them home dash something so that you can see where you're editing, because there's not going in the admin side. You're not going to the homepage to edit a text field. You've got a list of text fields. So really, it's still in your best interest to make some sort of small admin for your customer. But this now allows us to make a very specific admin for that customer and still give us the power to edit everything instantly.
Yeah. So all of the little individual like components within the dashboard, let's say like, I haven't created a stack for it yet, but that table, right? Super nice table. I really love it. That table will just be a stack you can drag on, and then you can say, point to this collection, and boom, you just get that, right? So all of the individual components of the dashboard will be available to you on your custom admin area, so that you can then, build it out and hopefully build it relatively easily. So, yeah. And as we build it, I'm sure we can come up with better ideas. I'm always up for improving and adding new features and stuff. So, yeah, I'm good with that. I did one other thing in the chat, Paul. This is recorded. Again, I'm using a new service. I'm not sure what the recording output is going to be like, but yeah, I will make sure it's available. Okay.
Okay, Joe, one question.
Yes.
Is it possible to duplicate the last entry if I create a block and I like to maybe only change one field? Then it would be nice to have a button say duplicate this last thing and then only change one position.
Yes, I do plan on having a duplicate or a clone button, so that you can quickly duplicate a object or a blog post or whatever it is. And yeah, then at that point it'll duplicate all the data, and then you can just modify whatever you need, and yeah, then we're good to go. So yes, I do plan. Right. I don't have that as a feature yet, but it is on the roadmap.
Okay.
I even built all the APIs for it are built. I just haven't built any of the UI for it. So, yeah, we should be good. Oh, one other thing here. Let me share my screen again. That as Josh and Scott were talking, I forgot to go over. I did. Oops, not schemas collections. If you noticed, there was a set of field, when we edited a collection, all right, let's go to one that doesn't have it. Let's go to like products or something like that. Okay. There's something down here called custom object form overrides. Okay. And this is actually super useful, super powerful. Okay. And I built this primarily for the text collection. Okay. Because there's many different ways that we might want to edit text. Now, by default, when I edit text, let's go to like about me. Okay, this is going to be the default, right? We just get oh, this is style text. Okay, but we just have a text box. But what if I want other in Total CMS? There were all kinds of ways of editing text. We could have had a select box. We could add a single line, text input. We had a text area. We had style text, right? There's all kinds of ways of adding text. Okay. And if we go new object, this is actually the default view. It's just a simple text area. Okay. But what if I wanted to customize when my client went in here and he went into my select, instead of a text area, I only want him to be able to select one of these options. Right. Or, if we go back and I go into, here's a password. Oh, well, that one apparently I did wrong. Let's go into, about me, as we saw, had the style text, right? And if I go into my time, this has a time picker, right? So as you see, I can customize these forms on a very specific level, okay? And that is where we go to edit collection, okay? And in here, as you see, if we go here, I can select what my default field is going to be. The default, as we saw, is text area. I can change that if I want the default to be style text or just a simple text input, right? There's different ways of, whatever you want, okay? You can supply all your default labels and placeholders and text values, okay? But if we go down here, we'll notice that I have something called these object form overrides. And what these are is they are specific overrides for a specific object. So for the object my select, I want the text field to be a select box, and I want the form label, placeholder, and help to be these things. So this allows us to do very specific overrides for very specific objects. Very granular, but it makes it nice so that when our customer logs in, we give them the exact interface that they need to input the data that they need for that particular thing. Okay, so pretty cool. Any questions on that?
Yes, Joe, does that really create issues with the factory, or is that going to talk to it properly?
Well, so for this is I'm not sure factory really makes sense, something in like a text collection, because text is like every bit of text is going to be something different, right? So yeah, the factory is all about bulk creating items or objects that conform to a particular rule. And something like text, I don't know, you could do it, right? But how would you want all your bits of text to be something different, right? And you probably want them to be a very specific ID as well. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't really work. Okay. The factory only works with whatever your default setup is. Okay. Now you could, eventually when I create these specific ones, you could be like, okay, I want to create 3 that have, let's say, you put in a male name or whatever that thing is, and you can say create, and then you can do, okay, now I want to create 10 of them that is 3 paragraphs, and you can say create, right? So eventually the factory will be more flexible where maybe it's useful in a text collection. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Sorry, Scott, what were you going to say?
Back to the style text area.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have control of what tools are in there?
We will. Right now I haven't built. Right now it's just hard coded. Eventually, I will have probably. You can set it at a default level, But then also, if we go into edit collection and go into style text, this we'll have the ability to generate settings for a very specific whatever you want right in here. Okay, so there'll be settings for this where you can have, style text, and then you can like list out all the various toolbar items that you want. So you'll be able to do that here. And then on the stack level, we'll have settings for all that.
Yeah, so they can add a link, they can add a
exactly. Yep,
image.
exactly. Yep. Yeah. So, like for example, I haven't even done the APIs for the image and file upload and style text. They don't work yet. So yeah, right now the style text it's just the simple whatever it is. I think it's bold, italic, and something link. I don't remember what it was, but yeah. I just haven't had time to work on that part yet. Cool. Okay. Let's start jumping into stacks. Okay, so this is the demo file that comes with Total CMS 3. I try to remember to put it in the whenever I ship a new beta, a new version of this file that conforms to whatever is new in that particular beta. Okay, I don't think anything's changed in this since I last released it. Okay, I guess since we've been talking so much about the admin stuff, let's just finish that topic and go over the admin area for this particular project. Okay. I'm going to bring up this actual project. It's published here. Okay. So here is, this project file. And if I go to the admin page, I have, a custom admin area. This edits a very particular, text object. This edits another text object. This is a specific image, right? So again, this is very much like what we're used to now. Okay. If I have a button here for admin dashboard, if you click on that, this is now the admin dashboard for this particular website, right? So I can go in here and I can see all of these, collections. If I go into bill, go into blog, go into demo collection, these are all, here's an example of this image was created by the factory, and it's an actual image, right? So not all images that are created by the factory are like some abstract thing. You can't have it actually generate useful actual photographs. Okay. And you can have them color or black and white. Right? You can actually specify if you want all black and white photos and stuff like that. Pretty cool. All right. So again, this is the actual admin area. And like, for example, if I were to go here, let's so like, for example, this particular text edit right here, I thought it would be fun to go in. And if we go into the text collection, okay, well, there it is. It's just called header, right? So again, I can edit it here in the dashboard, or I've created this custom admin page where I have pretty much the same interface. Okay. Galleries, they've been completely redone. Something I haven't gone over yet is the immense work that was done for images. Okay. You guys can give a huge thanks for Wolf for being the inspiration behind a lot of the features that I've added to the image stuff here. Okay. And let's go over it now. Okay. So as you see, this has a very similar interface to what we already have in Total CMS 1, but there's a lot of extra stuff here. If we go in here and click on Edit Image Info, okay, what we'll see here is that we now have a lot of information that we could edit about an image. In Total CMS 1, you can store an alt tag. That was it. Okay. Now we can mark an image as featured. We can set the alt tag. We can define a link for an image. We can give tags to an image. We can define a focal point. I'm going to come back to that. All the EXIF information about an image, this particular one didn't have any, but if there were EXIF information, it would have been extracted from the image when you uploaded and displayed here. And all of that data is editable. So you can, if you wanted to edit that information within the CMS, you can. Okay. Now, while I do have to say that this information is edited in the CMS, if you change the information here, it doesn't update the information on the actual image. Okay. GPS, so a lot of EXIF information. Another thing that does is it analyzes the image and puts out a color palette that it found based on the image. Okay. And what's cool and kind of cool is you can actually drag and drop these around. And why is this useful? Well, let's say in your design, you upload an image and you want to pull the first color from the color palette of an image and use it as a background image, or a background color for something. Okay. So you can do that. And you can actually click on these and you can modify these colors, or you can move them around. So if I wanted to, use the first color of an image, but I wanted to make sure, the CMS said it, I want to use this color, but the CMS put this last, I can just drag that up to the front. And now this color from that image is used wherever I've configured it on my page. Okay. And then there's just some read-only metadata about, the size, the width and height of the image, the name of the file, upload date, so on and so forth. Okay. Now I skipped over focal point. So this is a really amazing feature. Okay. Total CMS, which we'll see in a little bit, can dynamically crop and crop images. And one feature that was really important to a photographer such as Wolf is, when you're taking photographs, sometimes when you're trying to batch crop or intelligently crop images, it's hard because let's say in Total CMS 1, it did do intelligent cropping. It can create a square thumbnail, but you always had to crop every image based off the same point, whether it was the right of the image or the top of the image, or the default was the middle of the image. Now, this particular image that we're looking here, the middle probably makes perfect sense because, the focal point of this image is right here. It's this van. Okay. But I can change that now. I can use these sliders to change the image, to change that focal point. I can also just drag and drop this. And as you see, those sliders are dynamically changing, and I can define exactly where I want my focal point of the image to be. That way, when I batch create, thumbnails, square thumbnails, I can crop it based on the focal point that I've defined in the CMS, and I will get the exact cropped thumbnail that I need for every single image. That's really, really powerful. And I'm really happy with this UI. I wanted to nail this UI, and I think I've done a great job with that, in my personal opinion. Okay. So that is, again, all of the information about an image. Now there's even more. So in here, we can click on image URL. Oh, sorry, Joe, you got a question?
Yeah, is this interface available from the auto admin when you're editing images there?
Yes, all this is in the auto. If we go to here, if I go to gallery, I click on this, I click on that.
Oh, okay, perfect. Awesome. Yeah,
it's all exactly the same.
Perfect. Sorry, I didn't see that part.
Yep. Yeah, I skipped over it. I wanted to do that here. Okay. Okay, so image builder. Okay, so as you're probably aware, Total CMS 1 creates 2 thumbnails when you upload an image. And that's an important statement there. It creates thumbnails when you upload the image. That is the only time it does it. Let's say you've uploaded 100 images to a gallery, and you've defined Total CMS to create thumbnails at 200 pixels. Now, let's say a year or 18 months later, you're like, I want all these thumbnails to be 400 pixels. Well, guess what? You are out of luck, sir. Because you now have, if you want them to be 400 pixels, you'd have to re-upload every single image all over again. Okay. And yeah, that's not really viable. Okay. So in Total CMS 3, you upload an image, it stores the original image. And what we do is you can create thumbnails on the fly whenever you want. And this allows you to customize that interface or to see the options that are available to us. Okay. So for example, let's say this particular image, I wanted to create a 300 pixel by 300 pixel, and let's crop it from the focal point. Okay. And yeah, preview. There we go. Now remember, I changed the focal point of this image a few minutes ago to be up in this corner, and that's exactly what it did. Right? I didn't plan that. That was a happy accident. Okay. But had I gone in, let's go ahead and I'm going to change this focal point to be right here in the middle. Okay. And we're going to go here again, and let's preview that image again. Voila. So now, now that crop focal point was based off the focal point that I saved in the CMS. Pretty cool. Now, something, a behavior that I've done, and I did this on purpose, if you noticed, when you edit this information and close that light box, that information gets auto saved to the CMS. Okay. I did that because there's a lot of data in here, and a lot of times I think people will edit the information, close, and then they'll forget to maybe click on a save button. Okay. And I didn't want all of your changes to be lost. Okay. So the data in this light box does get auto saved when you click out. Okay. So anyway, go back to this link builder. Yes.
Better you have a warning information. All your information are stored now.
Okay. Yeah, I do have some notes for myself to rethink that. But that is the current behavior. I am open to rethinking that behavior though. Okay. I forget. I'll have to look at my notes. There were other behavior. There were other reasons why I did that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah,
maybe just a
I am
cancel
open to rethinking that.
Maybe add a cancel button.
The problem with the cancel button is it's a can of worms that if you click cancel, you expect all of the data that you entered in here to revert to what it used to be. And so that's a cancel button sounds easy, but then I'd have to build an entire thing where it remembers everything that it used to have, store all of what it used to be, so that when you canceled, I reverted it back to what it was, right? So cancel button sounds simple, and I do like the idea, but the implementation of it can be complex. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, getting back to this. Okay. Yeah, pretty cool. There's all kinds of stuff we can do. We can adjust the quality, pixel density, the format. So if you wanted a PNG version of this image, or a progressive JPEG, or a WebP, you can easily get a WebP version of that image. That is now a WebP version of the image. You also notice here, it's 33 kilobytes, 300, and the size. Pretty cool. Okay. There's also a little documentation on what all these fit crop options are. Okay. So when you click on this, you get a bunch of options. Okay. And there's some, and the reason you can actually click into here is because you can do something like crop XY, where you type in the actual position that you want to crop it by. Okay. So for example, if I did crop -20 -20, okay. Let's see what that does. There, it does 20% by 20%. So it goes up to the top corner. So you can type in your own thing. And the documentation for all that is right in there. We can do a bunch of effects. So you can sharpen, contrast, adjust the brightness, pixelate something, blur something, add a black and white filter or a sepia filter. You can add backgrounds and borders. And probably the most important feature here is the ability to add watermarks. Okay, so in here you can choose a watermark. There is a special gallery. If you call it watermark, any image that you upload that will be supported by the image UI here and display that image as a watermark. Okay, so if I go ahead and let's say this one, I want my watermark to be, let's say 150, oops, not 450, 150 by 150, and let's preview. There we go. It's that is now a watermark on the image. It's not overlaid, it's embedded into the image. Okay, super, super cool. Here, let's go ahead and check out this one, and we'll fit that one. Okay, so there is another type of watermark. Okay, you can also adjust the positioning here, right? So you can do, like, if I want it in the center. Okay, maybe make that a little bit 200 by 200. Okay, and preview. Voila. Right, so there is a watermark. It's right there in the middle. You can also do alpha. So if I want it to be like 50%, there we go. Super cool. Very powerful. All right, now this little copy macro button will be super useful, because if I want to generate this exact image or a version of this image, this macro is exactly what I need. So if I'm using a warehoused image and I want to put in this exact URL inside of a stack settings, guess what? I copy this macro, paste it into my warehouse URL setting or whatever, and you're done. Pretty cool. Okay. And if you want to learn this syntax, there is an organization to it. I've done a lot of different settings in here, so it's quite long, right? But all you have to do here is copy that macro, paste it wherever you want this particular image to be, and you're done. Super powerful. There is also a download button, so you can actually download that image as well. So there we go. There is, and you see it downloaded it. It is a WebP. There is that particular image that I just got dynamically generated by Total CMS.
You know how badass that is? It's like if I've uploaded like all these original images, like the full quality images, and then I'm like, oh man, I'm working on like a social media post or something. I can literally just go in there, create the photo I want, download it, and it's like it's a whole converter for you. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, totally. Something that okay, so while this is powerful, it is also dangerous. All right. And why do I say it's dangerous? Because let's say you upload let's take an extreme use case. You've uploaded 1,000 2 megabyte images into Total CMS 3. Okay. And you go on your webpage and you're like, okay, I need to create 200 pixel thumbnails for all 1,000s of these images. Do it now. Right? Your web server is going to puke. Okay. Because your web server probably has like 50 megabytes of memory or something like that, right? And you've just requested it to generate, 1,000 thumbnails on the fly right now. Okay. So how am I going to solve that? Okay. Because it is a problem. Okay. I haven't built it yet, but if you noticed in one of these in the admin dashboard, there was a utility called Image Batcher. Okay. And what this will be is you'll be able to, it'll have a similar interface to this. Okay. And you'll be able to, let's say, generate this version of this image for all images in this gallery. Okay. So that you can kind of, pre-build those images out. And what it will do is it'll create one image at a time so that your server is not just completely puking. Okay. So yeah, it'll be an image batcher. Again, I haven't built it yet, but I think it's going to solve that particular problem, or it's going to make that particular problem much easier to handle. Okay. And you probably want to do this Yes.
It's still possible to limit the upload size for users.
Yes, it is. Yep,
Okay.
that it is possible. I'll show that in the stacks. I don't have that. That will probably be something I add to, remember those special settings things inside the when you create it. I'll probably add it in there as well if you want to use the auto admin area. But there are already settings here in the stacks, which we'll look at. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So the admin area. Went off on a little boondoggle. As you see, here's that gallery that has my watermarks. Here is the the normal gallery and an image. Okay. So as we see here, we have the ability to create, again, your own custom admin area that does exactly what you want. I won't dive into every single one of these. Here's an example of a feed. Okay. And you click on it and it opens the form inside of a lightbox. Okay. If we go into blog, this is kind of a traditional blog layout where we have a list of all of our posts. I can click on it and I can edit that blog post, right? Here is the admin for a custom collection. Here's all of my custom objects. I can click on it and here's the form to edit that particular custom object, right? This is the ability if you wanted someone, let's say, to manage collections. Again, this is a view where I can see all of my collections. I can click on it and I can edit the actual collection. Again, all this is in my own custom admin area. And same thing for schema. I can view, I can list out all my schemas and then I can click on it and there's my schema form. So you really can, give someone just the access they particularly need with something like, the custom admin area. And then this link to dashboard just takes you, that's another, I should note, as you see, this is the admin dashboard, but it is embedded within my site. Okay, so that is an option. Okay, let's look at the stacks really quick. Okay, so let's look at the stacks for the admin area. Admin link, this just links out to the admin dashboard. Again, here's just a text form. And let's look at this. Let's look at the organization of the stacks actually, since we're just kind of getting into the stacks thing. So I think I like how I'm organizing the stacks currently. Here we have just kind of generic Total CMS stacks. So you're familiar with CMS core. That's going to be something that goes on every page now, not just content pages. It will go on every page. Okay, even admin pages. Process macros, X-ray data. We'll go with that in a little bit when we start looking at content stuff. So here is some admin specific stacks. So here we have the admin core. Okay, which again is going to be something that you add to the admin pages. Okay. The admin embed, this is going to be where we want to embed the admin dashboard. So here's that page where I embedded that admin dashboard. I just add that, you put in a height that you want it to be, and boom, it's there. Okay. The admin link is the link. I'm not going to go through these one by one. We'll go through, let's see, Total CMS forms. This is where you're going to add stuff like here's a text form. Here's a style text form. Okay. Here's an image form. Wolf was asking a little bit ago about validation rules. So you can validate the, similarly to Total CMS 1, we can limit by size, height, width, mode. So is it a landscape, a portrait, or a square image? Aspect ratios, count. So you can also limit the count. So let's say you only wanted to allow someone to upload 10 images to a particular gallery. You can limit that count as well. You can limit by type. So this is kind of an advanced feature where you can limit something by a mem type. Okay. Doesn't really make sense for images probably. I kind of share these settings with I plan on sharing it with something like Depot. So you can actually limit by a zip file and stuff like that. And you can also limit it by the name. So, you want to make sure that someone, only uploads something named this maybe. Okay. Definitely an edge case, but an extra spot for a button. So we thought of an extra use case for validation rules. All right, there we go. So yeah, lots of validation rules. You can use as many as them. You can use one of them or all of them. It's up to you. Okay.
I'm so excited about the count one because we've been wanting an image.
So that's the basic admin page. You can go through this project file. A lot of this is going to be similar to what we're going to look at the content side. So here's the example of the blog admin. I'm using something called a loop blog stack, and a special stack called admin list that generates that kind of that scrolling container that each every other row is like a different color, right? So that's the admin list stack, and then this blog just generates objects for me. Okay. And then we even have the ability to create factories right here inside here. So we have the ability to generate 5 blog posts straight with this factory stack. Okay. And actually in here, I give the ability to define custom rules. Okay. So you can actually do that. Here, I plan on having this particular functionality when I add, to the admin dashboard as well. Okay. But you already have that in the custom admin area, which is kind of cool. Okay. Any questions on the admin stacks? Again, I'm not going to dive into every single implementation here. If you guys have the project file, I think most of you can kind of understand what's going on here. I try to keep it pretty darn simple. Okay, with that, let's migrate into the content of the website. Okay, so we've spent hour and a half already purely talking about the admin side, and I haven't talked about hardly at all the content side of things. And I think if you've used Twig, this is going to be really easy. Okay, I think we've knocked it out of the park. Okay, I think it's going to be easy for even new users, especially if you use Twig. This is going to be completely seamless for you. So here is the content page. I have a header with that bit of text, a paragraph of text with a different text area. Here's my image with the watermark, and then here's my gallery with thumbnails. And when I click on it, I get a full scale, gallery that I can then navigate through and do all kinds of stuff with thumbnails down at the bottom. Okay, which is kind of cool. If you notice the gallery, it doesn't actually load the images until you click them. So it's very performant. I like it a lot. Okay, let's look at this particular page. So let's look at the content stacks. So we have a bunch of content stacks here. Okay. And we have a text stack. Okay. And here we have an instance of that text stack here. And here I pretty much give it an object ID. This is the ID of my text. And as we saw in the back end, so just like Total CMS 1, you just need to match the IDs. Okay. So we have header on the admin side. I had header as well. Okay. And magically, here we can define, I want this to be an H3, and we're done. What's kind of cool about these stacks is by default, I have preview macro turned on. And what this does is it shows you, if you wanted to add this to your own third-party stack and not use this Total CMS content stacks, this is the macro you would use to inject that text. So let's do that really quick.
Question for you, Joe, because that's actually one of the comments Scott just put in the chat a little bit ago. Is there going to be a way to copy that macro from the auto admin area for like text stacks? Maybe there you could have an ability to copy that macro from the auto admin dashboard.
So you
imagine you're going, if you're going to like the text, right? Not the schema. I'm going to the actual.
Collections.
And you go into the text and you're looking at that text. Maybe if you click on that, maybe there's a copy macro button, or maybe in that column there, like table, that you'll have a copy macro button.
I'll think about that. I'll think about it.
It's kind of a good idea.
It's also a really hard idea, because everything is so generic back here, that let's say for like, if this is a blog, like how do I do a macro for that?
No,
You
no,
know?
no, it'd be very like this would be very like text specific.
Oh, okay.
Like you already have it for image, so maybe you just have one for the text objects. I mean, for a blog, obviously that doesn't make sense. But for
I've
text,
thought
it
about
does.
creating here like a macro builder.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
That thought has crossed my mind. Like I do actually have a I have a macro builder stack here that helps you build a macro. And I was thinking of taking this and doing that in the admin area. I think that could
but
be
even having this macro builder stack, actually, I didn't realize there was that. That's actually pretty cool.
okay. Here, let me I'll look at the macro builder in a second. We'll go over that. Okay, but let me show you how we could take this and inject it into a header stack. Okay, so let's say I have a header stack here, and I want to use this because maybe I want to leverage some of the other Foundation 6 features, right? So and the Total CMS stacks don't have all of those features, right? So let's do that, right? So essentially all I need to do here is just take that macro. So it starts with 2 curly braces, and then I do cms.text. By default, the text function in here looks at the text collection, okay? And then we're just gonna give it the CMS ID. So in quotes, we do that. There we go. So now that macro will resolve the text and inject it into this header stack. Okay. And yeah, if I preview that, there we go. All right. Now this enters another thing that we need to talk about. If you notice, this is my project file for my demo Total CMS website. And if we looked at my demo, right, we'll notice that this and preview look very different. Okay. Total CMS 1, the current version, in preview, what it did is it actually queried your website for the current active CMS data, and it displayed it inside preview. Super cool feature. Okay. It had a lot of drawbacks that people probably didn't even realize that it was doing it. And they were, I'll be honest, they were probably maybe blaming RapidWeaver or blaming Stacks or why is everything so slow? Because I want to preview my page that has like 100 different CMS elements on it. And you'd have to think, so what Total CMS did before is for every single item on the page, well, now it will, the current version that you guys, version 1, for every single one of these, it would query the server, get the data, build HTML. Then it would go down to the next one, query the server, get the HTML, generate the data, go and so on and so forth. And you can imagine if you're Chris Powers and you have 200 toggles on the page, wow, that is a slow preview process, right? And that's probably why a lot of people were like, to hell with preview, I'm just going to publish, right? If we notice that the preview process here was very fast, okay? And the reason for that is Total CMS 3, it's its own little standalone instance within preview, okay? So if I go to the admin area here in preview and I go, hello, everyone, okay? And I save that, okay? And I go back to my content, guess what? Okay, so the data within preview is its own managed data. Okay. I have some maybe some plans to eventually try to create some sort of service that can maybe get the data from your server, but I don't know. That seems crazy complex, and I don't horribly hate having preview have its own data. Okay.
Is it possible that we can because this almost is like as if you're running map, right? But without running map, is it possible easily to then siphon the data off and move it to our online?
Yes. In RapidWeaver, and this will be different in Stacks Pro. Stacks Pro has this ability as well. I haven't tested Total CMS 3 at all in Stacks Pro. I don't want to do it to that yet. Foundation 6 is working, right? But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole yet. Okay. Okay. So in your RapidWeaver, you can go view and you can do web server logs. It's kind of a convoluted way to get to it. And then inside web server logs, there's a button called Open Document. And you can click on Open Document. It opens a folder buried way the heck inside your thing. Okay. Now, this is where Preview generates all of your stuff. Okay. And I don't want to store it here because when we close this document, everything's gone. Okay. However, if we go up a few directories to this particular directory, where we see all kinds of stuff, we scroll down to the bottom here. Okay, we'll notice that there's some TCMS data folders, and it creates one for each of your projects. So here is my TCMS data folder for my preview. Okay. Now, this data is ultimately stored inside your temp directory, okay, inside your user folder. And in theory, if you use any of like Clean My Mac and all that stuff, this data is a target because sometimes those apps will clean out these temporary folders. Okay, so this data isn't guaranteed to always be here, and the OS in some circumstances might clean it up. I've been using this for about 6 months now, and my data hasn't been removed once automatically. Okay. So there is that. So there is data in here. I can then get this data and I can download data from my server and plop it in here, and it will work in preview. Okay.
Very cool. Okay.
Hopefully, my goal, I've talked to Isaiah, hopefully inside Stacks Pro, we'll be able to define a folder. So let's say you can add something to your actual, a folder in, let's say, your home folder, that then you can say like, okay, store the preview data here. So it's a place where you can define where the data is, instead of buried in some sort of temp folder. Okay. So there we go. There's a little peek behind the covers of how that kind of works.
Yeah,
okay.
I couldn't figure out how to get rid of that data in a project because it just kept coming up, and of course I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it.
Okay. So yeah, it is stored there if you wanted to nuke it, or if you want to, you could use the admin interface to delete it as well. Now, one bad thing about this, okay, and it's this kind of, I put a lot of work on, obviously, into that auto admin area, and it saddens me that it actually doesn't work in preview. Okay. If I preview this in the browser, if I click on that, my hopes were up. I clicked on it. Looks like it works. But if you go, it just doesn't work. Okay. So that is highly unfortunate. I haven't given up all hope on it. Reason, small technical thing. It has to do with preview is running a PHP server. It's meant for like testing purposes and some very lightweight previewing of your PHP applications. Okay. This admin dashboard uses some very much more advanced routing, URL routing and whatnot. And the built-in PHP server just does not do that. Sadly. Again, I haven't given up on it, but yeah, as of right now, the admin dashboard will not work with preview. Okay, so if you want to administer data within preview, you have to do your own custom admin area. I'm sorry. Again, I'm working on it. Okay.
You know what though? I don't think that's such a bad thing, Joe. I really don't think it's the end of the world.
Yep. I have to be honest, so this server that I'm using right here well, not this one. This is the preview. But the demo, okay. I have this running locally in MAMP. Fucking works like a dream. And like publishing locally is like insanely fast. Like, even I will go on a small tirade. You will notice that Total CMS 3 is big. Okay. Here, I'm going to go ahead and file. We're just going to republish all files on this project. Oh, I just got to go ahead and I use this on my laptop and my desktop. And whenever I publish on my laptop, it kind of severs this connection on my desktop. So yeah, that's the folder. So click choose. It's thinking about it, and thinking about it. Blah. Okay. If you noticed that was 5,000 files. Okay. Total CMS 3 is big. Yeah. I as of right now, I like the ability to just publish. I may come up with it in the future. If it becomes too much of a pain to come up with some sort of different installation process for Total CMS, so that you don't have to publish it every single time. Okay. I'm cool with experimenting with ideas around that, because I know I don't know, maybe Stacks Pro, hoping Stacks Pro is better with that. Again, I haven't used it with Total CMS 3, but yeah, maybe that will solve all our problems. But I am willing to explore other options in the future if we see that need. Okay. But with that said, exporting locally and playing with this in MAMP, super fast. So most times I'll make the change. I just republish all files or publish locally, and then preview, open up the MAMP site in my browser, and it works like a dream. Okay. Even the admin dashboard, obviously. Okay. So there we go. I forget what I was originally talking about before we were talking about publishing. Local versus using MAMP to test locally, because like the admin dashboard doesn't work in preview. Okay. Another thing. Total CMS 3 requires PHP 8.2 or above. And if you're still using RapidWeaver 8.9, that uses PHP 7.4. So you have two options. You can either build out your site and then always publish locally, to something like MAMP that will run a version of PHP 8, and you're fine. If you're using RapidWeaver 9, you're good, because that actually has PHP 8.2 as an option. I think it's off by default. You have to change it in the app preferences, but you can change the default to be PHP 8, and you're good there. Another option is I am running a modified version of RapidWeaver 8.9 that makes preview still work. If you're in that particular boat, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to coach you through it. Okay. So yeah, there we are.
Okay. I can vouch that works because you helped me.
Yep, exactly. So yep, that's an unfortunate thing, but yep, there we are. Okay. All right, back to content. So we talked about how to inject with these macros. I do like the macro syntax. If we look at the docs, I think I have them all documented. Oh, that form documentation is completely wrong now. Oh, field. Okay, here. Oh, that's form.fields. Nope. That's not what I want. Here. Okay. the Total CMS content. Okay. Here's a lot of the things that we can do here. So these are probably the ones that we're going to be using the most. Okay. We have text, style text. Well, depot doesn't even exist yet. Okay. Data is kind of like CMS data to just get raw data. And then there's going to be image path. Okay. The image path stuff, why you can learn the syntax, that image builder, I nailed that. Okay. With that copy macro button, use that. But yeah, I will have better documentation on what all the various options are for these. Okay. I'll quickly do an example here. So like for text, okay. Actually, I just realized that the syntax in this doc is the old syntax. Okay. But so I do cms.text. And actually here, instead of doing it in here, I'm going to, let's do it in VS Code. Okay. Here. So here is my macro. Okay. And by default, it's going to look at the text collection for an object called header. Okay. But as we know, I can create different collections if I want. Okay. Called different things. Okay. And so if we look inside here, oh, let's go into, yeah, I'm in the right place. All right. So if I go to text, it's going to go to the text collection. And we'll notice that this collection is called text. And the property that I'm getting this data from is also called text. Okay. Well, guess what? This essentially is a shorthand for doing something like this. Okay. So now it does. I put this on multiple lines to make it a little bit easier to read. Okay, you can have it all in one line as well. Okay. But what this does is, so this is a very expanded syntax where, let's say I have a different collection. Let's say I wanted to get the title. Let's say my new post. Let's say I get a new blog post, and then I want the collection to be from blog, and I want the property to be from title. Okay, or something like that. Okay. So as you see, you can use this in a lot of different ways. Okay. There's actually there's better ways to do what I just did here. I just wanted to show you an extreme case. Okay. But let's say I created a different text collection. Okay. For some reason, let's say you wanted to create a new text collection, right? You can easily do that, and you can omit property, right? So you'd be like, I want to get the header object from the collection new text. Now you have to make sure that the property is also text. If it is, you can just omit that because it's the default, right? So you can do something powerful, pretty powerful like that. Okay. Again, this is getting a little advanced, but I just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek on an expanded version of that syntax. Okay. And how powerful. Most of the time, you're just going to be doing stuff like this. Okay. Super simple. All right. So that's the text. We wanted to look at the macro builder really quick. Since we were talking about macros, we'll go over the macro builder. And here you can define the data type that you want to get. Okay. So, if you wanted to get a date, and then here you can put in your object ID. If you notice that this macro changed, okay, once I selected date, what's cool here is that you'll notice that not only do I get the date, but we have the ability to have a format. Okay, so you can define the format of your date as well, which is super, super great. Now in this builder, let's say you want to provide a custom collection and property. You can do that here. Oh, and I apparently didn't update the builder. I need to fix that. Okay. That's my bad. That didn't work. Wonder if it works if I go back to text. Nope. That's my bad. Darn it. Okay. Well, there's a bug for me. And we're not going to go over the use variable stuff right here. Okay. But hopefully you'll see this is just a great way of kind of building a macro. If we go to like color, there's some really cool stuff that we can do here. So this will get the color. It'll transform it into an RGB value and actually make it an 80% opacity. Okay. Which is super cool. Okay. So all the colors stored in the CMS are stored as solid colors. And then you can easily adjust the opacity on the fly. And there's actually other things you can do on the fly with colors. We probably won't go into that today since we're already hitting 2 hours. Okay. But yeah, you can adjust the hue and you can adjust the lightness. You can do you can modify colors on the fly with a macro, which is really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff with colors that we can do. Yeah. Okay. So that's the macro builder. Obviously there's some bugs here. Let me make a note for myself that I need to fix that. There was something else earlier today. I said I found a bug I need to fix. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. If anyone remembers what I said was a bug earlier, let me know. I should have wrote it down.
Clicked on something in the admin and it didn't load.
Ah, yes. API docs. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, next up is, so we've kind of gone over text. Style text essentially works the same. Eventually there will be all kinds oh wait, that's on the admin side. Admin side will have the options for all kinds of buttons and whatnot. We're talking about content. Okay. Image. So here, the image, super powerful. Again, it also has a preview macro that's built in. Okay. You don't need the macro. I just I have it turned on just for educational purposes, because you have the ability to, everything that you can do that I showed you earlier in that image builder on the admin portal, you can do here with the settings. Oh, even watermark. Okay. So, yeah, pretty powerful. We have the ability, you can customize the height, width. And again, if I change these values, all these values, and that image is created on the fly. So if I make this, instead of 600 pixels, if I make it 900 pixels, okay, and I preview, that image that we're looking at right now, that was just created on the fly. Okay, pretty powerful. And then yeah, you have all the ability, the sharpness, the cropping, all that jazz. It's all here. Okay. And then here we have just a header. Then we have gallery. Gallery has certain things. All the image settings that you see here are going to be applied to every single thumbnail, obviously, right? So you can build out how big do you want your thumbnails to be? Do you want to crop them? Do you want to apply any effects? Okay, and so on and so forth. Oh, doesn't look like I added all the watermark options. I need to add more watermark options to the gallery. Okay. Yeah, I need to add the watermark stuff. Oh, I think I made it so if you type in, oh, that's right. It's WS-logo. And then when you type in the setting, it shows all the settings. Excellent. I was too clever for myself. So you type in the file name of what you want your watermark to be. So in this case, it would be, if we go to my gallery, right, in my watermarks, I would get the actual name of the actual image, right? So in this case, weaverspace.png, and that's what I would put here. Okay. In the admin dashboard, right, when we did everything, it was nice because it's all tied into the CMS. It actually gives it to you, right? So I can click down here. I don't need to know the name. It just automatically adds them here. Obviously, the Stacks interface doesn't have that level of integration. So you actually have to figure out the name and just put the name in here. Okay. All right. So that's the gallery. Also, right now there are 0 options for customizing the look and feel of the actual gallery, right? So if we go to, the content, so like, this is preview. So, the gallery options like, customizing the colors and, maybe turning on or off buttons or turning on and off thumbnails. There are no options for that yet. Okay. It will come. I'm trying to get as much of this, done as quickly as possible. I think the default settings that I chose are a good starting point, but yes, we will have options to customize the style of all this stuff as well. Okay. And those options will be here eventually in the future. All right. Any questions yet? I know I've been kind of jumping around a little bit. I've been trying to stay focused. All right. Let's dive into a blog. So blog is essentially the same in terms of you probably want a blog list page and a blog post page. Okay. I think it's that sort of workflow just makes sense. So how do we do that? All right, let's go to the blog post page here. Okay, you'll notice that I have a layout of blog posts. All right, it's just a grid. I think I'm using the Foundation 6 block grid, or maybe it's the starter pack. No, it's Foundation 6. Okay. So this is very similar to how Feeds works. If you've used Feeds to auto-generate layouts, this will feel at home to you. Okay. If this sort of thing is new, this might require a little bit of brain work. Okay. There is a set of stacks called loop stacks. Okay. And they are, where are they? I think I have it in layout. Oh, layout helpers. Sometimes the icons aren't showing up. I'm not sure why. Whatever. Okay. So here we have a loop blog stack. Okay. And what this does is you configure what your collection is. Okay. So in this case, blog. And here I have a bunch of macro hints for you that you can copy and paste to inject the data about a blog. Okay. So actually, let me make a quick note about something. Okay. So here you can just copy paste this, and we'll notice that I've used those down here. So these aren't, again, these settings are here purely for you just to copy and paste stuff. And actually stuff like pipe raw doesn't even need, I fixed that. That's not even required anymore. Okay. So that's actually a nice thing. I worked hard that was a simple thing, or it seemed simple, but man, that was hard. Okay. So we no longer need raw for anything. Okay. Which is cool. So like if I wanted the post summary, I would just I can copy and paste that in. Okay. So loop blog is going to loop through every single blog post and apply this layout to the data. So it's going to create a block grid cell for every single blog post. And as you see here, that's exactly what it's doing. It's creating a block grid cell for every single blog post. So let's go through the data here. We have an object link stack. This stack allows us to easily link to an object as long as we've defined the link in the collection. So if you remember earlier on today, I talked about how in a collection, you can save a URL for a collection. So what does that mean? Okay, let's click on a blog post. Hello? What happened? Did I break something? Oh, let me go. Maybe. I guess I broke something. Hold on one second. Let's just go to the dashboard. And go to my collection, go to blog, edit my collection. Oh, I have no URL. Okay. So right here, I have no URL saved in my blog. Okay. What do I put here? what we put is the URL to the blog post page. All right, so I'm just going to use that as a starter, and we're going to paste that in, and it is going to be /blog/post.php. That's the URL to the blog post page without any sort of IDs or any of that stuff. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save that. Okay, now let's go back to our blog. And if I click on this now, now it works. Okay, so what the blog link does, oops, I changed pages. What the object link does is it looks at the collection, gets the URL, and then it will automatically, link to the particular post as long as you configure it properly. Okay, so in here, the object we need to give it the ID of the object, and post.id is how we do that. Okay, for this, because in here we'll notice that in loop blog, to get the ID we need post ID. Now, since this is a stack, we don't want to output that. We just kind of paste that without the curly braces here, and then our collection is blog. Now, you can do a custom link if you wanted. Okay, so if you used a custom link, it wouldn't actually look in the collection for the URL. Okay, however, I am going to encourage you to save the URL in the collection. Why is that? Okay, the reason is this URL is used, or it will be used for more things than just linking of blog posts on the web. Because many things that we need to do for a blog, the CMS needs to know what the URL to a root URL to a blog or an object ID is. For example, RSS feeds. If I want to generate an RSS feed, which isn't a feature in CMS 3 yet, if I want to generate an RSS feed, the CMS needs to know where to point people to. Okay, and this URL is that. We want to auto-generate sitemap files for Google and search engines. In order to generate a sitemap file, we need to know the full URL to a web page. This URL is needed for that. Okay, based on this URL, I can build out the URLs for every object in a collection. That way we can do it RSS feeds, JSON feeds, all kinds of stuff. Okay, primarily RSS and sitemap. Both of those aren't implemented yet. They will be. Okay, so that is the importance of this URL field in the collection. Okay. This is very similar to in Total CMS 1, you go to the blog post page and you'd preview, and then sometimes most of the time that lightbox would show up, sometimes it didn't, right? And then you'd have to click save it and then save it into the CMS, right? That whole workflow is gone. Okay. Yeah, don't need to do that anymore. In your admin area, save this as a part of the collection. Okay, cool. Any questions or confusions on that? Nope. Okay. We do have a pretty URL setting. I won't go into that right now. But yes, we do have the ability to do pretty URLs as well for this object link. Okay. That's actually another thing I'll probably have to add in here is some sort of htaccess builder or something like that. That would probably be a cool utility. Let me add that to my notes. htaccess builder for pretty URLs. Okay. Okay. So that's the object link. And then here we have the image stack. Okay. Now in here, I want to get the main image for a blog post. Okay. So the object ID, as we saw from the object link, we give it the ID of the object. Now, this is just the run-of-the-mill image stack, the same one we used on the main content page. But in this case, I need to define a custom collection and property. Because if I don't select this, it's going to look in the image collection for an image, and we don't want that. So what we want to do here is we want to look in the blog collection and we want to look for the property image. Now, with that said, if you haven't realized, Total CMS 3 requires that you understand your data. What do I mean by that? What it means is you have to know in your collection, okay, if I go to blog, okay, I need to know what my fields are. I need to know that I have a collection called blog, and inside blog, I have an image called, or I have a field called image, or a property name image right here. You have to know that, okay? So if you want, in here, I want to access that image. So in this image stack, I'm giving it the post ID, I'm giving it a collection of blog, and I know the property that I need is called image. If this were, let's say, a custom collection that had multiple properties, let's say I had a screenshot or something like that, okay? Let's say I had a property named screenshot in my products, okay, collection. That's what you would do here. You would go collection products. The property that I need to get, the image, is called screenshot. Okay, let me put this back so it doesn't break my page here. Blog image. All right, now you'll notice that there's this array of buttons down here. Okay, and that's this thing called use variables. And as you know, post.id here is a variable that references the ID of the particular post that for this iteration of the loop. Remember, so this is looping through every single blog post. And for each instance, what we want to do is we want to get the post ID, and we don't want to literally look for an object ID of post ID. If I were to turn this off, this would literally look for a blog post with an ID of post.id. That's not what I want. So what I do here is I say, hey, the object field is a variable. Okay. And so what it's going to do is it's going to dynamically look for, it's going to look up what post ID is and then look for that object. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we have the ability to, there are some times where using a variable for the collection and the property would be useful. By default, I think most of the time you're just going to statically enter it in. Okay. But let's say you wanted that to be a variable. Okay. You can then do that. Okay. But right now, this is literally looking at the collection blog and literally looking for a property called image. Okay. And then all the various image settings that we would have, you can customize whatever this is, right? With height, crop areas, all that stuff. All right. Here underneath the image, I have a header stack. And then I simply, if you looked in here, right, I copied the title macro and I pasted it directly into the header stack. And that then gives me, if we go back to the blog page, so I have, if you notice here, I have my image. If I click on it, it takes me to the link. Here I have a header. Okay. Below that, I have a H6, a small header that contains the post date. Okay. And here you'll notice I do post.date, and then I can customize the format. So I know a lot of you hate, or do things wrong, right? And you have year, month, day, right? So weird, right? But hey, it works if that's what you want, right? Oh, that didn't work, did it? Wonder if that had to do with some of my data inside the CMS might be wrong, inside my preview CMS. Let's publish that. Oh, it did. Oh, it did do it right, but it did it as one. Oh, I did backslashes. Interesting. If you want a backslash here, let's do dashes. Oh, there it goes. Right. So year, month, day. Normally you would do forward slashes, right? Forward slash. Interesting. And that would do a forward slash. If you wanted a backslash, Maybe, I don't know, maybe you would actually have to put 2 in here. Interesting. That's a programming quirk. Oh, it did. What? How would you put in a backslash? That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. You have to put here. Let's see. Would you have to put 3 in there? This is just. Nope. Interesting. All right. I'll have to look into that. Wanted a backslash. But anyway, you get the point, right? You can also add in time, right? I forget the exact thing. I think it's like let's see, it's H:M:S. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm gonna guess at that. Oh, look at that. I guess right. So you can do the full date as well, okay, with time. Okay. And then here I just have the summary. In this case, I don't need the raw anymore. It doesn't hurt if you had it in there, but it's not required any longer. And there we go. Okay. And then I have a object button that's similar to the object link. You can link to the particular object with a button. Okay. Pretty simple. All right. So that is how kind of lists are done, right? If we look at the feed, it's very similar. I have a loop feed stack that has helpful macros here as well. Very similar thing. I'm looping through, I'm creating a block grid cell. You can do this with any sort of layout. You can use it with Bento as well, or whatever you want, right? And then here's my image. Obviously, my collection is now feed, okay? And title, and here I'm outputting the creation date, the updated date, and the content, okay? Now, in this particular case, feed, it's just the feed. There is no post page for feed. You could create one if you wanted, but yeah, it's not required. All right. Now, let's look at the blog post page, okay? So here we need to load the entirety of a particular object, right? In this case, the blog post. Now, if we go here and we look, if I click on this, if we look at the URL, we'll notice that it loads it with $ID equals, and then the ID of my blog post. Okay. So that's how the URL structure works. And there is a object loader stack that helps us do this. So inside the stack settings, or inside the stacks library, there are a bunch of data loaders. Okay. And you can load all kinds of data. In this particular instance, I want to load an object. Okay. And the object I want to load is the blog post that is passed from the URL. Okay. So here, all you have to do is you say load from URL, load from the collection blog, and I want my variable name to be post. And what does that mean? Okay. So if you remember on the blog loop stack, we did post title, post date, and that's because the blog loop stack creates a variable for us called post, and you can't even change it. It just does that for us. Okay, so everything has to be post. Makes sense. This object loader is a very generic stack. Now for blog, we want to load in as everything called a variable post. So that way I can do things like post.title, post.date. But let's say this wasn't a blog. Okay, let's say this was a product page, and I was loading from a products collection. Okay, or hell, I'm going to load it from a stacks collection, and this is going to be a stack. Okay, so now here, instead of post.title, I would use stack.title, right? So on and so forth. So yeah, that's what that variable is. Let's go ahead and let's put everything back so I don't break my page. Okay. So here we are loading this object. And from then on, I can use the post variable to reference the data from my loaded blog post.
Change your header back.
Oh, thanks. Okay. So again, similarly to the image, I'm going to load the object ID is post.id, just like I've explained before. We're going to load it from blog and the properties image. Okay. And then all these settings. Further down, I have my header. I'm going to load post title, post date, post content. Now, you might be asking, how do I know what data? How do I know this is post.content? How do I know that? Well, again, you need to know your data. Okay. So if I go to my blog, okay, well, let's go to the dashboard. And if I go to my blog, I know that here are all the properties of a blog. So if I want the content, it would be post.content. If I want the extra content, it would be post.extra, post.title. Now there's things like tags that are obviously a little bit unique because those are multiple things, right? And we'd have to learn the Twig syntax for that. And yeah, well, there's different Twig, syntax for that. But basically you would access all of this data, post.archived, stuff like that. Okay. And there's all kinds of, layout helpers that we can look at to do this. So here I've added my title. I've added the date, the post content. Not sure why I have that in a header, but whatever. A gallery image. Okay. So here I'm taking one image from a gallery, which is kind of cool. And we can actually pull in a random image from the gallery. And then below that, I'm displaying the entire gallery, right? Earlier we saw we had X-ray data. If we go back to my blog post page here, okay? This is just, it's kind of a debugging tool. It basically, it allows you to output the data of whatever we're processing, okay? So that is inside here. It's called X-ray data. And in here, you can just put in the variable that you want to output. So in here, I want to look at what post is, right? And that gives us access to, so we can see we have ID, we have content, we have image or title. Now, what's kind of cool is, let's say I wanted to get to the some of the EXIF data for the image, right? Unfortunately, this particular blog post has no image uploaded to it. But let's fix that. What is this? Future proofed. Here, let's fix that. Let's go to my dashboard. We're going to go to collections, blog, and we're going to go future proofed. I think it was this one. I think it was this one because I remember that particular image. Okay, so this image, this was created by the factory. Let's add an image that actually has EXIF data. I know that one does. Okay, so I've uploaded my blog post. I've updated it. So now if we go back, right, now I have that image. Now let's go into here. Now if we go, all right, we'll notice that I now have EXIF information in here. Okay. So for fun, let's just output the camera. Okay. Let's put it in a header. Okay. For fun. Why not? Let's put it like right below this image. And so I'm just going to go in here. We're going to add in, let's add a header. Okay. Let's make it let's make it small, H6. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, shot with my, and then I'm going to do curly braces. I'm going to do post dot image dot exif dot camera. Publish that. And let's look at that syntax. So post, because everything for this object loaded everything into post. Okay. So in that, I want to get the image. And then inside the image, I want to look at the EXIF information. And of the EXIF information, I want to get the camera information. So I can do post.image.exif.camera. And voila. Shot with my Canon 5D Mark II. And you can do that with all the data, all the EXIF data, all the other data that's stored in, all of it. Pretty cool, right? Super exciting stuff. Any questions? No. I know we've been going for a lot of hours now, so but I wanted this to be extremely thorough to go over everything. So that's the object data loader. Let's look at some of the other stacks I'm actually not even using in this page, just to kind of show you what you could potentially do with them. Let's look at layout helpers. We have a conditional. Okay. So in this conditional, we can do various things. Okay. We're on a blog post page. So let's for fun, let's do something actual real. Okay. I don't know, let's look at that image. Okay. Let's say if we look at the image, the make of the camera is a Canon. Okay. So I'm going to do something probably doesn't make much sense, but it's an example. Okay. So in this rule, I want to do if post dot image dot exif dot what was it? Make. Okay. If the make equals Canon, okay, then we're going to put in this header. Okay. So yeah, pretty cool. I made this very wide open. And it's just a very generic twig if statement. And in order to really get the most of it, you got to learn a little bit of twig probably. So you can go to twig, and you can go to if. And there's I'll probably have docs, some that replicate some of these examples, but you can do all kinds of stuff, right? Here's like, if temperature is this, greater than 18 and temperature is less than 27, you can do all kinds of stuff. If it's empty, if it's not empty, so really cool stuff you can do here. And let's test this out. I'll be honest, I haven't even done this. This is all on the fly. So let's go back to, where's that page? This page here. All right, so that's published. And now that is displayed because this particular image had the make of Canon. But let's go to a different blog page, and that won't show up at all. Right? So that didn't show up at all because this particular image didn't have a camera make of Canon. Right? Now this, you do even simpler things. You could do something like, let's say if post.draft equals true, right? And what's kind of cool, if you notice here, I actually put the condition here so you can kind of see that, within while you're working on your layout, right? So here I can see if the post is set to be draft, then display this, right? So you can do all kinds of cool stuff with this conditional. You can also do stuff like you can do an else if rule. So you can do if this, else if, and you can add all kinds of stuff. And then you can add like a catch-all else at the end. So you can be like, if it's true, if this, else blah, right? So it's definitely a pretty cool, very useful stack for customizing your layouts based on the data that you have available to you. Okay. There are other looping stacks. Okay, so we looked at the one that looped a blog. You can also loop through a gallery. You can if you could toggle, right? So and that actually instead of like doing this if condition, okay, you could just use the toggle, and essentially it just says I can do post.id object, and then I want to do blog draft. So this essentially says if the draft is set, then display this. It's essentially the same exact thing I just did in this conditional, but yeah, just maybe a little bit, and then we have an else logic. So on when toggled off. Pretty cool. All right. And this stack, if we're just used, because there is a I don't actually have here. Let's create a new collection. Oh, this site has a bug. Hold on one second. We go to my other test site. Okay, we go here, and here. I do have toggle. So like here, we do have a default toggle. So like you can have as many toggles as you want. And obviously if you just use this without a custom collection, then you would be like, let's say I had a toggle my check, right? So this would just be my check. So this, again, even though I'm on a blog post page, this would always look for the global toggle collection, and it would look for the object my check. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Okay. I think I'm going to be done with the demo. I think we've gone quite long enough, and I've shown a lot of the basics, a lot of behind the weeds. There's still even more behind the weeds, right? But hopefully you can see the power of this, and start playing around with it. Okay. I'm happy to stay on. We don't need to be overdone right now, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to continue on and chit chat.
Sounded a bit gobbledygook there for a minute.
Oh, did I sound like gobbledygook? Sorry.
It sounds like someone else was talking.
Okay.
I think you're just getting feedback from someone's mic.
Thanks, Joe. That was very nice. Very helpful.
Excellent. What did it clear up anything for you, Bill?
Got me wondering about something I was playing with the other day, the conditional.
Yes.
I was trying to establish a condition where something would happen if a pitcher had an image or didn't have an image. So if a picture object was empty. Is empty the key I'm looking for there?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that's what I tried for some reason or other.
Yeah. When an image is empty, actually, if you look at that raw data output, there is some, I think like size 0. Okay, so if you do image.size equals 0, then you know there's no image.
Okay. That'll do the trick. That's playing with the schema that has 2 images as the main image, but only one of them in there.
Sorry, I melted your brain, Dad. One thing I didn't go over in Loop. As of the current beta that is out, there's no filtering. Okay. So I do hope to get that in this next release. That's the one feature I plan on adding is some loop filtering and sorting.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So, Joe,
yes.
Joe, when you create a blog and you do a search for a certain something, it brings back your results in, I presume, time order. And then if you go into one, you can go. Can you go from one to the next of your results?
I'm sorry. Say it again. I missed you there.
So you've got a blog and you do a search and your results come up. You get a whole series of them, and you click on the first one.
will you then be able to go with an arrow or something like go to the next one of your results?
Got it. So you're on a page and you search and you filter out for a list, and you get a filtered list of blog posts.
Yeah.
And you click on that, and it takes you to that blog post page.
Yeah.
At that point, you want the ability to do next, but not only next, like in some sort of logical sense, you want to know about the search that you did on the previous page to go next.
Yep.
That is a
I
clever
don't want
feature.
much.
I would have no idea how to implement that off the top of my head. So that currently isn't in the roadmap. It's an interesting idea. Quite complex though. That's not something simple.
I can't understand why you can't know how to do it.
Yeah, that would require some thought. It's an interesting idea though. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Well, there you go.
There was a question on Rapid Weaver the other day. Someone asking whether they could use Compass with CMS 3.
Yes. And because Compass right now has a specific integration built for Total CMS 1. So that would have to be updated so that it would work with Total CMS 3. Definitely is possible.
Good.
But what that does is it doesn't do the search. But what Compass does is it knows the order of your blog posts.
Yes.
Not by any search, but it knows like the default order, let's say by date. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it would know next and previous.
Yeah.
Or possibly Scott Stack Blog Select.
Yes. Oh, which Scott Stack?
Scott Williams has got a stack, which joins blogs together.
Okay. Yes. Yep, that stack does. Yeah, that could work too. You're talking about his
can't remember what it's
his
called.
blog, the one for blog where you can like link multiple blogs.
Yeah.
I doubt that will. Well, I mean, you'll kind of be able to do that out of the box with Total CMS 3. Okay. Jeff, by the way, I muted you because it was there. Your mic was causing some feedback.
Yeah,
so if you want to
just
unmute yourself, okay? Sorry about that. This new system doesn't seem to have as good of audio as Zoom does, right? Zoom's audio, I think they've nailed it. So yeah, this. While I like some of the other features of this, its audio processing isn't as good as Zoom. So
still got to wait and see what the recording's like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Joe, back to Jeff's question though, for a sec, if you could.
Sure.
If he had searched for a subset of a blog, could it not be reasonable to have a menu created for that subset, which would then work fine with Compass?
Yes. Yes. So Compass looks for you can point it to a menu, and then it would use that menu to do things. And in theory, we'll be able to do the same thing with Total CMS 3. Yeah. Also, I mean, and something I didn't have here in the demo yet, you could also have a blog loop stack on the actual blog post page, just like you could with Blog Now, that then displays, a list of blog posts that maybe you might also like, right? And when I add filtering, we'll probably have to play around with doing the, show related blog posts sort of thing with looping so that we can, basically filter based on the data from the blog post that's loaded on the page we're on, right? So that will definitely be possible. So yeah.
Okay, Joe, I have two questions.
Sure.
First one is about the watermarks. Is it possible to add a pattern as a watermark so that I can create an overlay?
Yes. As of right now, you'd have to create a pattern. yeah, you'd have to create something, and then you could stretch it over the entire image if it wasn't large enough, but you'd create some sort of PNG pattern yourself and then stretch it over. Yeah, right now it doesn't have like a
It's not
repeating
possible
pattern.
to repeat it. So it's that you have a small watermark and you can repeat it so that it fills the whole image.
Right now that ability isn't available. Yeah, that's not a feature of the library that I'm using either to help me out with that.
Okay.
So I did think about that, and I think it would be a cool feature. But for now, I think the easiest way, you could just create an extra, like even an extra large version of it, and then we can play around with, you know, overlaying it. And if it overlaps the edges, who cares? That
Yes,
could be
of course.
as well.
But that's a large image that you have
Yes,
to.
yeah, it could be. Yeah, I agree. It's not ideal, but I'm sure we can try to come up with some sort of workaround for that.
Okay. The next question is about the EXIF data. If if I upload an image and then I create these instances of these images, the smaller versions,
yep,
the EXIF data is always copied to it. That's correct?
So as of right now, that EXIF data is not copied to the thumbnails.
Okay.
You still have access to the thumbnail. So if someone were to download the thumbnail, that EXIF data is not there.
That's great. That's what I
Okay.
like.
Yes.
Because I only want to share the EXIF data at a special point, not always.
Yes, that makes sense. Yes. So
Sometimes
yeah, the EXIF
the
data is not copied
geolocations
to any
I
of
like
the.
to share, sometimes not.
Yes.
Okay.
Only the original image that you uploaded will contain the EXIF data.
That's great. Perfect.
Hey Joe, can you switch back to grid view?
Oh, sure. Sweet. Any other questions? Anything you'd like me to test out or play with?
It's a bit delayed.
It looks pretty good, man. I'm excited.
Yes. So the stuff that I have, or let's see what stuff I did in version beta 7 so far. The current beta, creating a new custom collection is broken. I fixed it now. It's already fixed. Obviously, but it'll be in the next beta. Sorry about that. I didn't talk about. So I told you I have that new schema, right? So with the blog legacy thing. Okay. Let me show how that is. So if you when you upgrade to beta 7, okay, what you will notice is that the built-in blog schema has a limited number of fields. Okay, or I mean, it still has all these fields, but it doesn't have extra and extra 2, and some of those extra fields that I felt weren't needed for a blog. Okay, and if you go into your collection and you go into your blog and you click on this, what you'll notice is that the data doesn't even show up in the form. Okay, it's still there in the CMS though, at least until you save each one. So let me show you how. If you wanted to take an existing blog that you had set up in the existing beta and migrate it back to use blog legacy, this is how you would do it. You might think, I'll just go to edit my collection and then change the schema, okay, from being blog to blog legacy. But I don't allow you to change the schema for a collection once you've created it, okay? That just seemed like a bad idea. Okay. So what we're going to do is you're going to have to manually do that. All right. So to do that, just simply you're gonna have to go to your TCMS data folder, okay? Which is under mine websites demo. All right, so we have TCMS data, and then what we do is you'd find your blog, okay? Now another interesting caveat is the file that you need to edit is actually not visible in Finder, okay? So we're gonna have to drag this into I'm just gonna drag the whole thing into I use VS Code. It's free. Whatever code editor, most code editors are going to be allowed to see and edit invisible files. Okay. So let's make this a little bit bigger. So if we go to blog, okay, made it bigger even still. You'll see that there is a .meta file, .meta.json. What you need to do is you just need to take this this schema and just as you see it set to blog, you just need to change it to blog-legacy and save it. Okay. Now, once I've done that, I can then let's refresh this. Oh, I'm not on that page. I'm on a different site. Darn it. Hold on, demo. This one. It's not that. We go into here, we go into blog, go into edit. Oops, what happened there? That's interesting. I think the blog data in my demo here is why did that change? That should have totally not broken anything. Okay, well, I will have to. Good thing I tested this because I was just going to ship that and everyone else would have been like, I did what you said, Joe, and I broke it. So I'm going to have to see why that breaks it. That's what you will have to do. I will make it so that that works. Either that or you could just go ahead and create a new collection. Okay. I mean, chances are most people are just using dummy data now anyway. But you can still.
But you said custom collection is broken right now, right?
Well, I'm sorry. Once you ship, this site doesn't have the beta. Oh, hold on. This doesn't have beta 7. That's why it's not working. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me rebuild. Let me quit RapidWeaver. The stacks are still running beta 6. They don't have beta 7 in them. So when I've been publishing, it doesn't have all the fixes that I've already done. Let's see.
When will you throw that beta 7 out to us?
I want to have it done by tomorrow, but it depends on how quickly I can get the filter and sorting thing done. Hold on, I'm creating a new build right now. All right, that's done. Uh-oh, what happened here? Yeah, I know it's not open. I want it to open. What the heck just happened here? What the heck? I know it's not open anymore. Like
Trying to open it.
What the heck? What? That's something new. I've never seen that before. Is it like still running in the background or something? Activity monitor won't even load. I don't know. Something as bad has happened to my Mac. I don't know what I just did, but okay. I'm pretty certain that works. All right, here, let me go here. I'll change it in a different place. Let's go to that. Oh, I got too many. Let me go back here. Let me go. This is running beta 7. It's not. This is a standalone instance. It's not tied to RapidWeaver or Stacks, but same thing should happen. So if I go here, if I edit my collection, this is set to be a blog collection. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and wow, that's big. Yep. So if I go into here, if I go into blog, go into meta JSON, if I set this to be dash legacy. Okay. There we go. Yeah. So now it says blog legacy. Now if I go into the data for that blog. Wait, what? Oh, interesting. Right, that's a bug. It's hidden because I hide anything called blog legacy. That's funny. Let's just do this. Oh, it's just blog. Oh, interesting. Well, looks like I have some bugs to fix. All right. But so there are some warnings here, but it actually did work because I see all the fields like archived was removed, labels were removed, but they're all there now. And yeah, here's extra content. Okay. So good thing I tested this. There are some bugs I need to fix there. But yeah, so that's the way you will, if you have an existing blog that you need to migrate, you'll need to do that if you want to have all those extra fields. Okay, cool. I'm going to set this back to blog. Well, we'll leave it at blog legacy so I remember to fix it. Okay. Sweet. Anything else, guys? Are we ready to call it? And almost 3 hours, man.
And I have time to go off and have tea and come back again.
I'm glad it's recorded because I'm gonna have
With your wife paying attention because the test is going to be later.
Is the final
in the middle of this.
is the final tomorrow, Joe, at the Hangout?
Yeah, exactly.
Joe send out a questionnaire. We'll answer all the questions before tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Joe.
Cool.
That's,
Thank you, guys.
Quite something. Yeah, something.
Sweet.
Thank you.
I hope the recording works.
Hopefully we'll see many of you at the
Happy
Hangout.
birthday. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.